Welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity Yoga, and I'm Nancy. We're going to continue with the exercise that I've been doing for quite a while now of answering a question from the jar within a 10-minute time frame. And as I've said many times, I do this for several reasons. Many of the reasons I do not completely understand. I feel compelled here to do these videos most times because I feel there's a message that needs to be spoken kind of through me. And no, not that I'm a channel or anything like that, but just that I feel this message is so important. It's something that resonates within me, and I think it's meant to be shared. I come here because I'm learning. I'm learning all this wonderful wisdom, and I want to share what I am learning. I believe that learning and teaching are two sides of the same coin, and though I do not call myself a teacher here in this role, I am what I'm doing, I guess, is sharing in the form of teaching. They belong to this, they're both on the same coin, and when we learn we teach, and when we teach we learn, and so that's something I've always went by. Even my years as an educator have been influenced by that axiom. I also come here because I write and speak, so I do my blog because it gives me an opportunity to practice my writing. I do this vlog, if you want to call it that, these very imperfect videos that just come up without any editing or revising. They just, boom, this is what you're going to get. I do that because I'm trying to practice my skill, or keep my skills up. Not that I'm perfect at it by any means. As a speaker, I had studied Toastmasters for many years, receiving my ATM gold many years ago because I wanted to get over a fear of public speaking, and it was a journey that took me through many challenging tests that helped me to gain a certain confidence as a speaker and as a human being that I never had previously to Toastmasters. So in Toastmasters, we used to do this little impromptu speaking test every meeting where we were called up to pull a question from the jar and answer it within 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. Without knowing what the question was going to be. So I like to use that type of modality to practice my skills and to keep my skills up. So coming here to vlog or videotape or whatever I do here helps me to practice my skills. The most important reason I know is to share this message that I have been gaining through my own research, studying yoga practice, my studying of ancient wisdom, traditions, my own academia, my own educating experience, through my love of literature, especially poetry, my love of philosophy and psychology. So many things have led me here to this point where I feel like I have an important message to share to help make the lives of human beings better, to some extent. Not that I am by any means going to be that type of a tool. The little bit I can offer, I feel, might benefit some. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I do that to better the world in one small, tiny iota of a way. And if I can do that, I guess I am succeeding. So I am going to digress from that big, long ramble, 3 minutes and 34 seconds. I'll turn my timer on in about as soon as I get my question. So I'm going to reach in and get the question from the jar. I'm going to look at it briefly to make sure I can make out the writing with these old eyes of mine. And the question is, why do we need other people to approve of us? Why do we need other people to approve of us? That is a good question. I'm going to take a deep breath. And I just take that breath. It's just a little cue, I guess, that I use, a physical cue I use to get the ego out of the way so the higher part of me comes to answer this question. If the ego was answering this question, it would go on and on and on like it knew everything when it doesn't. So I'm going to try. My watch is a little funky these days. Try to get my timer going, and I'm ready to go for 10 minutes. So the question was, why do we need people to approve of us? That's a really good question, and I think that's a question that most of us would ask on a daily basis. Or we might not even be aware of our need to get the approval of others, but it will be something that dominates our lives. Many of us may call ourselves people pleasers if we're looking into ourselves and gaining some insight into the inner workings of our own brains and our own activity. We might see that, yeah, we tend to spend a lot of our energy trying to please other people, doing what we think other people will want us to do, meeting the expectations of other individuals or society as a collective whole. We feel like we need to fit in. Why? Of course, I am by no means any expert, so the answer I'm about to give you is just my opinion. So please check with someone who is more expert in this, or more importantly, check in with that wise self within you. So I believe that why we need to please other people comes from several things. There is a physiological reason, I believe. I believe that we are social animals, and we are wired as animals, as mammals, to maintain our place within a pack. The pack provides a sense of safety and security. It makes survival easier. If you were a wild animal in the woods, a wolf, for example, you would stick with your pack for hunting and for warmth and for that sense of togetherness that actually enhances us emotionally as well as it does physically. So yes, we do have inherent need to belong to the pack. I think that is biological. Maybe Maslow will consider it psychological as well, hinging on the biological component, being that in his pyramid, the need to belong, safety and belonging was a big one in there. It's one of his major rungs. And we all need that, I guess, in a sense. So it is a survival, physiological, psychological need to belong. But let's look at that a little bit more deeply. Let's look at that beyond the psyche. And the psyche is, of course, the accumulation of all our learned events, right? It is that sense of meanness, separate little meanness that we have all come to identify with. If I'm a separate little entity, me, separated from other beings by my body lines, I am in this part of space, you're in that part of space, and there's this massive difference between us, then I need to feel safe as an individual. I need to protect this entity, this body that I tend to come to believe is me, this psyche, this collection of learned events, this meanness. So that need for pack mentality even is enhanced when we have that separation identity going on in our brains, or minds, I should say. There's a big distinction between the brain and the mind. So we tend to operate under that need to belong because we see ourselves as very vulnerable, separate little entities in a big, bad, dangerous world. And in order to survive, we need each other. Now, we would say, though, that's kind of sad, but in one way, that's a wonderful thing because that allows for this cooperation that occurs in the human race, or all races, all species. This need for cooperation in order to continue to evolve and continue to survive. Now, I know Darwinian thought took away the cooperation and kind of said it was more of a conflict mentality we have, that we need to be survival of the fittest, so we need to be bigger and better and faster and better than the next or the other person within our social pack, so that we survive. And so it's like a pushing down of the heads of other people so you can get to shore and when everybody's drowning. So that mentality, unfortunately, did take hold, in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, and has become very much a part of our mentality still. But we are evolving away from that and realizing that it was never about competition between beings as much as it was about the cooperation and interbeing. And of course, the Buddha stressed the interbeingness of everything, right? And if we look way, way back to the ancient wisdom traditions of the East, Hinduism and Zen Buddhism, as well as Taoism, we see that there is only one to everything, and we're all just facets of it, right? So we get even a deeper level of that interbeingness, that understanding of interbeingness when we look back that way. So regardless, we have this tendency, whether we see ourselves as separate little entities in a crowd of other little entities, to belong, or whether we see ourselves as just facets of one, we need to belong. So we do have a deeper understanding of that need to belong. But let's get all that woo-woo and all that scientific and biological stuff out of the way and ask, why do I need to belong? Unfortunately, what most of us do is we look to the outside to validate who we are on the inside. We have this inherent sense of unworthiness, many of us have within us. It's a deep core belief hidden under the subconscious layer of other thoughts and beliefs, and sometimes we don't even recognize how prevalent that belief is in our lives. That belief of unworthiness is in our lives. We do not feel that we are enough just as we are. Maybe it's because of social conditioning, messages that we've received as children, messages we've received both from institutions and from our own loved ones and our caretakers that told us that we were just not enough alone. We were not worthy. Not worthy of what? Not worthy of the thing that is inherent in all of us, and that's love. So we come to believe that we are unworthy of love, and where love is, when we have this sense of unworthiness, especially this little separation entity identity we have, is that love is out there in the other pack members. So if they don't love me, then I have no love inside. So I have this big gaping hole of emptiness, unlovability, unworthiness within me. And I need that validation for that person to love me. And of course, we are conditioned in society to look towards romantic love as the be-all and the end-all, that thing that will save us from this emptiness of ourselves. And so we seek, most of us, we are conditioned to seek, encouraged to seek the soulmate, the other individual out there that will fill in this hole for us, because we do not realize that we are not separate identities. Yes, we belong to one whole, but we are that one whole we belong to. We are one tiny wave amongst millions of other little waves, billions, 8 billion other waves if you want to look at the human species, many, many more waves if you want to look at beings in total. And we are just one tiny little wave cresting and troughing. But we're not the wave. We see we've got lost in this identity that we were the wave. We forgot that the wave is a part of the ocean, and is the ocean from which we've come, and is the ocean we'll go back to. We are the ocean. We're just a little facet of that ocean. So we think we're the tiny little waves, and that's a different wave over there, and that's a different wave over there, and that's a different wave, and we're all just the ocean. And with that ocean, we have the power and the resources and the love that is what that ocean is made of. So whether you think in terms of God or higher consciousness or of the essence or the field, as Einstein would say, or as a quantum physicist is showing, that which from which the bosons and the quarks and the leptons are emerging from wavelets to particle matter, whatever you see that as, that ocean as, you are that. You are that. And that is love. So the love and approval you're seeking for out there is actually already in you. It has always been in you. But your mind has identified with what it was focusing on, which was the external world, which was all other members of the pack, thinking that your survival depended on them approving of you. When your physical survival may still depend on being a part of a pack to some degree, your ultimate survival, who you are beyond the body, beyond the psyche you identified as, which is the ocean itself, is not dependent on anything, because it is everything. So your need for approval will not necessarily be something you're ever going to satisfy out there. The only way to satisfy that is to look inward to where the source of love actually comes from. The source of approval actually comes from. I know we say that self-love, and you've heard that 1,000 million times, I'm sure, that self-love is the be-all and the end-all. Before you can love somebody else, you have to love yourself. And those are just words until you actually come to know who you are and that you are the same love, the same approval that you're seeking. So your need for approval outside yourselves is a delusional quest. It's not going to give you what you want. You'll never find it out there, but you will find it in here. So love yourself first. Go inward. Find the source of love within you. And then you will be that love, that approval you're looking for. Well, that's all I have to say for now. I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful day on this very snowy day in my part of the world. Namaste.